out when you dare student union to send a mass email, they will in fact send a mass email. Moral of the story is student union is not afraid to get things done. So I want to start off. Hello, my name is Charles Warren, and I've grown a lot. I know this because every time I go home, my mom always tells me, Chuck, you've been getting kind of bigger. You've been lifting weights. Well, yes, Mom. I've been doing these things called curls, and I'm up to 10 pounds now. So they're really starting to show. My doctor always disagreed with me, though. Who here remembers growth charts from when you were little? So basically, growth charts where the doctor would compare you to whatever the national average human person was. And I remember the doctor would, take me and my mom into the room, and they'd go, all right, so here's a growth chart. Here's where a normal 12-year-old boy should be at this age, just about around here. Chuck's down here, so you could probably feed him more if you want. I don't know how you're going to make up the difference, but you can try your best. The worst nail in the coffin, though, was the Wii Fit. Who here has used a Nintendo Wii? So what happens is with the Nintendo Wii Fit, when you step on the little board thing they have, they create an avatar for you that looks like you based on your weight. So the first time I stepped on it, the Wii did the little beeping sounds, and it made me an avatar. And I kid you not, the avatar went, wait. But I think I've grown a lot, especially in my understanding of love and in discipleship, which is just really how you follow Christ in your life. So when I was little, I used to love a lot. I had a really big heart when I was little. I loved so much. I loved playing games and taking naps. And on Valentine's Day, I would make sure every single one of my classmates got a Valentine in their little box. Because I just loved so much. But love was always just a word at that age for me. I didn't really know what love was, but I knew it was a word, and there was a definition, which I usually couldn't spell. And that was kind of it. And I remember my 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Feeney, side note, rhymes with meanie. Anyway, Mrs. Feeney, my 6th grade teacher, sat us all down in class once and went, "You're all too young for relationships. Don't even worry about them at this point in your life. You're too young in elementary school. You just push it off till high school. Not high school, you're too young to. You won't understand love then either. Wait until you get to college. Maybe not even college. Just wait until you're like an adult. And then you'll understand love. You're too young for relationships now." And everyone in my class went, "You're crazy." I was sitting in the front row and I was going, okay. I mean, I'm like a 6th grader at this point. Love doesn't really mean that much to me. So, I mean, what? The longest relationship in my class is, well, they were together for a week. They were together for 2 weeks. That's pretty long. I don't think that's real love. And so, I kind of took this attitude into high school. And I got to high school and I loved less, not as much as when I was little, but I still loved, I loved video games and board games and playing sports. Those were the things I loved. I still loved. But at this point in my life, I would never say the word love. I would never use it. Because love was a really important, big thing to me. It was something that was very special, and I didn't see it anywhere in my classmates around me. I didn't see any good examples of love to follow. So what? Now people in my class, they were together for a month. They were together for 2 months. I think true love lasts a little bit longer than 2 months. So to me, it made sense. Maybe Mrs. Feeney was right. Maybe people my age really don't know how to love. And so that was just kind of my attitude. Then I remember that there was someone in high school who loved me. Scandalous. So I didn't know what to do. Because I'm a freshman boy in high school. If you know freshman boys in high school, yeah. So basically what happened was this girl loved me. And I was still, I don't know what love is, so I don't know what to do. Luckily, my friends knew exactly what to do. they knew to tell her that I wanted to date her. I had such great friends in high school. She heard this. She thought we were dating. So I did what any freshman boy in high school would do. I hid. I hid for the next 2 weeks. I avoided all hallways with her. I avoided any of her classes which I knew that she would be in. I never made eye contact. If she was in the hall, I just would pretend like there's something more interesting to do. Because I thought that was the mature thing to do. Again, freshman boy in high school. Give me some credit. So I thought that was the mature thing to do at this point in my life. Like, okay, I don't know what to do. Maybe if I ignore it, it'll go away. That obviously didn't work. And it obviously left her a little confused and a little bit hurt. And so at that point I realized, okay, love is something I need to just, Mrs. Feeney was right. I hurt somebody now, and there are no good examples in high school of love, so love just can't exist for people my age. Like, I know that love can kind of exist, like people would do service or service trips and stuff like that in high school, but my high school had a service hour requirement, so how much of that was really them serving, rather than just trying to graduate? And so I thought, okay, well, love can't exist for someone my age. I know love exists. My parents really love each other. My grandparents really love each other. In fact, I think really only old people know how to love each other. So maybe Mrs. Feeney was right. Maybe old people don't know how to love each other, and I should just push it off until then, because love just can't exist for anyone my age. And that was the attitude I took into college. I got to college, and I knew there were going to be a lot of fake loves at college, because that's what you see on TV all the time. You see people love beer, and people love the hookup culture, and people love partying. And of course, being very sheltered, I saw all those things as awful and evil. So I just knew there couldn't possibly be love in an environment like this. And the problem was, the people who I thought were supposed to be great leaders for me, who were leading organizations on campus that did religious things, they were partying too. They were also drinking beer. And so I started getting this conflict in my mind, like, wait, these people who I've looked up to for so long are doing these things that I think are evil. I got mad. I couldn't believe that they were just leading my classmates astray. And I saw a lot of classmates go through some hard times because of really no role models to follow. And I got mad, so I decided I was going to be the guy. I was going to be the one who went 4 years without drinking, without making bad decisions, without hurting anybody, because no one else was going to do it, so that had to be me. Because nobody else was sticking up, doing this, I had to do it. And I knew I was right. Not sure if you're aware, people in college usually have different opinions than you do on things. And so very quickly I started getting challenged by a lot of my friends. For instance, on beer. I was always like, beer is evil. Stay away from it. That's what I did. But then I started getting engaged by some of my friends. They started pointing out, well, is drinking in moderation bad? No, I guess if they're being responsible, then no, it's not. Yeah, okay, sure. Well, okay, what if they're not, what if they are drinking too much? Does that mean you get to hate them? I guess no. I should probably still love them, or at least tolerate them. I guess. Sure. And it started turning with me. I had to think about that more. Something that I thought was so cemented in my mind started to change because other people were offering a little bit of leadership to me. I remember my ideas on faith were challenged as well. See, at this point in my life, I knew faith was important to me, but I didn't know how to grow any further. Because, well, those youth group kids who went on retreats and stuff were kind of like, stay over there. And, like, those people were weird. I don't want to be involved with them. But the problem was there wasn't anyone else, like, who I could follow, so I didn't know where to go. Luckily, I got to college, and I had a roommate. His name was Lucas Abbott. Maybe some of you know him. And you see, Lucas, well, he challenged a lot of my ideas. I remember one night in particular, I had just gotten to bed, pulled up my sheets. You know, it's time for bed. The lights were still on because Lucas likes staying up. And I mean, I was in first year, so like, I didn't want to be awkward and be like, hey, can you turn off the lights? So I was sitting there waiting, and Lucas was kind of, he was fidgeting a lot. He was walking around the room. And I remember he said, hey Chuck. What? I was gonna pray a rosary. Would you want to pray a rosary? It's like 10 o'clock. I had a long day, probably not. You know, what I actually said was, sure, I'll pray a rosary. I remember many weeks later, there's a similar situation. I was at my desk. I was sitting down writing, doing my homework, which was rare. And I was doing my homework, and Lucas was again fidgeting around the room. I remember, you know, he was acting kind of weird man behind me. Hey, Chuck. What? You know how they have mass at CTK? On Sunday. It's Wednesday. Yeah. No, really, they have mass on Wednesdays too. I was wondering, is there any way you want to go to mass with me? You know, the calf just opened. I'm like, I haven't eaten all day, so you can go. What I actually said was, yeah, I'll go mass with you. See, the problem was Lucas was always offering. He was never forcing me to do anything. He's always just offering. And I knew that I couldn't say no to something that was probably good for me to do, or at least had no downsides to doing. And so I had to take him up on that. I had to follow his good example on that, even if I really, really didn't want to. By just offering and inviting me, and being that leader, he was starting to change my heart and how I looked at things. I remember my ideas on true love were also challenged. You see, I get to college, and I'm like, love can't exist for people our age. All the rest of the relationships are going to end and burn and crash. But then I looked around, and people, 2 years, 3 years older than me were getting engaged, and getting married. There's going to be a lot of unhappy marriages. Or shoot, I don't know, maybe they actually love each other. So I started thinking, well, I guess maybe I should start thinking about that more, because it seems like these people actually love each other. When have you been challenged to grow? I remember it was a late night, and I was riding in a car with my family to Maine to go visit our grandparents. It was Christmas break, and we had decided to drive through the night. So my mom was in the driver's seat. She was driving. I was in the back seat. My dad and my brother were long since passed out, but I couldn't fall asleep. So I was just looking out the window, looking at the stars, looking at the street lights as they passed by. And like anybody trying to fall asleep at 1 a.m., my mind decided to think about everything in the whole universe. And so I started thinking. And a lot of thoughts went through my head. And then one thought came to mind. It was a name. And see, this kind of thought had come up before, but in the past I'd always just gone, nope. That can't happen right now. Don't worry about it. Push that off to the side. Not until I'm older. because I don't even know what that means. But today was different. For whatever reason, I decided to let the name stay. And looking back, I couldn't honestly tell you why, other than at this late, cold Christmas break night, her name was keeping me warm. And so I let it stay. Is anyone crying yet? You see, this person had great habits. She prayed a lot. She made smart decisions, which honestly just doesn't happen in college anyway. So I admired that, but then she also loved everyone. She loved everyone that she met, even if she had just met them. And I really admired all those qualities. And so I decided to let the name stay. But the problem was I let it stick around too long. It started following me everywhere. It started to haunt me. Until eventually I knew I had to act. I couldn't just do nothing anymore. And so I knew, for once, the first time in my whole life, God was calling me to a radical call to love in a way that I had never done before. I didn't know what to do, but I knew that I had to say yes, because this was the only opportunity that I ever had. And so I did. I said, yeah, God, that sounds great. I'm going to give this a shot. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to give it a shot. So yes, God, I say yes to your call to love. But she did not. For a long time I wondered, God, I wanted to be the guy who went 4 years without making any dumb decisions, without hurting anybody, or putting anyone in a tough situation. So why would you make me go against my own oath, which seemed to be pretty well laid out? Why did I have to be vulnerable? Vulnerable for what? When have you questioned God's challenges to grow? You see, I was blind to God's guidance because I was looking at the end rather than the progress, rather than what had happened in that time. Because of her, I started living every day with purpose. I saw a great opportunity every day to do something great. And I started living that way too. My prayer life reflected that. I recognized, okay, I want faith to be something more than once on Sunday. I want that every day. And I started desiring union with God. I started desiring discipleship to figure out what it was God wanted me to do and how I could love others. I became a disciple, and I desired that, to figure out how to follow Christ. Jesus said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself." Matthew 22, verses 37 and 39. You see, as I loved God more, I started to love others more, because I had more love to give. I saw that it became easier to give. My time, my skills, my talents, even if they weren't that great. But I had more to give, and I recognized that. And the choice became easy. It seemed so easy. I had things to give, so why not? Discipleship became desirable. Who here has seen Space Jam? You know, okay, so for those of you who haven't, for like 2 of you who haven't. Okay, we love you too. So, there's a ball, in Space Jam. And the best players in the NBA touched this ball, and all their skills, talents, prowess went into the basketball. And anyone who touched this ball would gain all those powers, gain all those abilities, and become a great basketball player. Discipleship works the same way. If you follow somebody who's holy, it may take a while, but you're going to start becoming holy. You're going to start picking up better habits. Who can you follow to better follow Christ? You see, discipleship is love. God had called me to love, and I said yes. But the thing was, God had called me to love, and I hadn't been listening to God. I hadn't been noticing. I hadn't been really paying attention. And so, God willing, if I graduate, after the spring, I'm going to apply for the Rockford Diocese Seminary. I'm going to study to be a priest. And I don't really know how it's going to end, but I know that the journey, the progress, the prayer, a lot of growth that's going to take place is going to be beneficial no matter what ends up happening. Discipleship always requires a choice to love. You have to choose it. It doesn't just happen. You have to love God first, and then you can take that love and bring that to others and to yourself. And it's a tough choice because it never stops. You have to keep going. It's not like you can follow God for a little bit and then go do whatever you want. But when you start loving fully, it becomes easier. It becomes a lot easier of a choice. I have told you this so that my joy might be in you and your joy might be complete. John 15:11. So follow God and go every day as a disciple of Christ. And may your joy